Welcome to This Explainer. Right now, there's a massive shift happening in how businesses and public institutions manage their absolute most critical digital assets. I mean, we all know the cloud is the backbone of modern operations, right? But the real question we're answering today is who actually controls that backbone? We're going to dive into the newly launched CISPE Sovereign and Resilient Cloud Services Framework. We'll unpack exactly how organizations can maintain true, verifiable control over their data in what is honestly an increasingly complex global landscape. Okay, let's start by addressing the elephant in the room, sovereignty washing. You've probably seen the marketing out there, providers plastering the word sovereign across all their cloud offerings. But here's the thing, sovereignty washing is a totally deceptive practice. It's when a service claims to be sovereign, but completely fails to offer actual legal and technical protection from foreign jurisdictional interference or sudden service disruptions. Superficial cloud security just isn't cutting it anymore, and the market has been desperately needing a way to actually verify these claims. So ask yourself this. If an overseas government suddenly demanded access to your data under their local laws, or what if a geopolitical shift caused a sudden shutdown of your foreign-owned infrastructure? Could your business actually survive that? Do you truly have control, or are you entirely dependent on the goodwill of a foreign provider? To answer that, here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll cover the sovereignty washing problem. Then, we'll look at the CISP cloud framework. Third, we'll compare sovereign versus resilient services. Fourth, we'll talk about escaping vendor login. And finally, we'll wrap up with global reach and open source. Let's get into it. Section 1, the sovereignty washing problem and fake autonomy in the cloud. Let's explore the very real threats hidden behind flashy cloud marketing. There is a major misconception out there in the IT world. A lot of organizations think that if their cloud is highly secure against hackers, well, then it must be sovereign. But actually, cybersecurity certification alone does not ensure sovereignty. Why? Because of extraterritorial laws, like the U.S. Cloud Act. Listen, even with the best firewalls in the world, if your provider is subject to foreign jurisdiction, they can be legally compelled to hand over your data. So a hacker might not get in, but a foreign government legally could. And that brings us to the solution. Section 2, the CISPE Cloud Framework, which provides an auditable, verified way out of this trap. Francisco Mingorance, the Secretary General of CISPE, uses this highly relatable analogy to explain the core philosophy here. He compares the framework's two certification paths to car tires. The sovereign badge is like puncture-proof tires, meaning you are completely immune to external interference. You literally cannot get a flat. The resilient badge, on the other hand, represents run-flat tires. You might encounter a disruption, sure, but you can keep driving without losing control of your vehicle. But how do you know if a provider actually has these tires? Well, the framework requires a really strict verification process. First, vendors can assess their services using an AI tool provided by CISP for a quick initial check. But that's just the start. Step 2 is totally mandatory, a formal accredited third-party audit. Only after passing this rigorous, independent audit is the official CISP badge awarded. This completely eliminates those fake self-awarded stickers and ensures you get exactly what you pay for. And actually, over 40 services have already cleared this bar. Moving right along to Section 3, let's really unpack these two paths, sovereign versus resilient services, and how to choose. Let's directly contrast the two main certifications. Sovereign cloud services offer control by design. This means they are structurally owned, governed, and operated entirely within your jurisdiction. Foreign powers have absolutely no legal or technical means to interfere, period. On the flip side, resilient cloud services offer control by capability. So even if there are some non-sovereign, foreign elements in the tech stack, the customer retains control through incredibly robust technical and operational safeguards. Basically, sovereign structurally prevents the risk. Resilient ensures you can technically withstand it. Let's rapidly break down what those technical safeguards actually look like for a resilient service. It's not just about encrypting data. It requires customer-managed encryption, meaning you hold the keys, not the provider. It also requires workload portability, so your applications can actually move. Plus, you need independent backups, and you absolutely must have the capability to redeploy your services to an alternative provider. So why might a company strategically choose this resilient path? Simply put, because these safeguards are directly tied to actual business survival. If a vendor fails or a service is unexpectedly shut down due to geopolitical tensions, your data doesn't just sit there frozen. Resilient requirements guarantee that your applications and your data remain totally usable and portable. You can just pick up and keep running.
Let's move to the fourth section, escaping vendor lock-in, and how this framework builds a literal escape route.
Crucially, the CISPE framework isn't just operating in a vacuum here. It maps directly to the European Data Act. When we look closely at the framework's controls, we see how it guarantees transparent switching policies. Before you even sign a contract, the cloud provider absolutely must give you clear, understandable information on exactly how you can leave their service. That includes data formats and specific procedures.
Under this framework, providers cannot hold your data hostage. During the switching process, critical elements must be provided free of charge or at the absolute most strictly at cost where permissible. This covers the actual data transfer, access to the APIs needed to facilitate that transfer, and formatting your data into an exportable format. So, no more exorbitant hidden egress fees acting as a ransom just to get your own data back.
Furthermore, there is a strict timeline. The framework mandates a maximum transition period of 30 days to port all your exportable data and applications to another provider or even back to your own on-premises infrastructure. This 30-day limit is huge. It puts the power squarely back into the hands of the customer, ensuring you aren't dragged through a months-long administrative nightmare when you finally decide to leave.
For our fifth and final section, let's explore global reach, open source, and how this all goes way beyond European borders.
Now, while CSOP is a European organization, this framework truly has a global reach because sovereignty is inherently linked to geography. Take this brilliant example. A cloud service hosted in Japan by a Japanese vendor can absolutely qualify for a sovereign label in Japan. But if a European company uses that service and the right technical safeguards are in place, that exact same service can earn a resilient label in Europe. It's a game changer. It allows multinational companies to mix and match badges based on the specific operational and compliance needs of different regions.
And to make all of this distributed, interoperable cloud infrastructure possible, CISPS is taking major action. They recently announced a massive €1 million strategic investment into the Fulcrum project. The Fulcrum project is essentially an open-source digital exchange that allows different European cloud providers to pool and federate their resources. The goal here is to match the massive scale of foreign hyperscalers.
And that leads us to the ultimate tool in this framework, open source software. The framework heavily encourages the use of open source because it drastically reduces dependency on foreign proprietary vendors. It inherently enables the portability we talked about earlier. It lowers migration costs, and it really is the bedrock of maintaining regional technological autonomy. Open source is essentially the engine that drives this new federated ecosystem. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to take back to your teams. The cloud landscape is shifting rapidly, and the legal and technical threats we've talked about are very real. When the next geopolitical shift hits, will your digital assets be securely riding on puncture-proof tires, or will you be left stranded, locked in, and totally out of control by a foreign cloud? It is definitely time to demand verifiably sovereign and resilient services. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this brought some much-needed clarity to your cloud strategy.